Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ryan Winder podcast, where we talk about all things that have to do with existence. You wouldn't be here if you weren't curious about existence. So go ahead and thumbs up and do the subscribe button and all that good stuff. I, again, will not waste your time because we got better things to do here. So I am joined by some very cool people tonight here. Pat is here, Moshe De Leon, and Moshe Free, who is also having his own podcast. Do you want to throw a shout out? Let them know what yours is called, Stilo.
Oh yeah, Outside Minds podcast. If you guys are curious about spirituality, psychedelics, and conspiracies, go ahead and check that out. We're on all major platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us at Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram.
Perfect. Beautiful. Well, so for anybody who has never heard any of us talk before, we'll just give kind of a little introduction for ourselves here. My name is Ryan. I did a small amount of stuff with the program when I was in I don't know. We kind of wanted to talk about something that's more kind of hidden with the like future stuff that's going to be coming up. So I'm gonna cut that there. I don't need to go any more details for myself. Patrick, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself and then Stilo, we go to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Patrick, and I had a very short stint in the GATE program, but that's how we met. All of us met is through a chat from previous GATE people, and yeah, I'm into all things spiritual. I'm into philosophy and science and literature, and also like agriculture and stuff like that, and theology. A lot into theology, and yeah, I've done some ministry as like a deliverance minister before. So obviously, when we talk about spiritual stuff, I'm really I'm into it, right? So yeah, that's me.
Stilo, introduce yourself.
Okay, yeah, okay, my bad. So me basically, I was also in the game program in third grade, and I have very vague memories of it. I don't really think I got as far as many other people, like as far as like the pink drink and stuff like that. But I do remember testing for the gifted program, and then it was like a lot of pattern recognition, which I'm very good at. So I was in that, and then most recently, I kind of started getting some more into spirituality, mysticism, and stuff like that, just because I had this spiritual awakening. I had a Kundalini awakening in 2002, I think. So that kind of just guided me a little bit more into my spiritual path, and then also being a gay kid and meeting all these guys in the internet group that we were in. We share a lot of the same interests, like conspiracies, mysticism, magic, and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at on my spiritual journey as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. Thank you guys for joining us today. So, Moshe, you are the man of the hour here with some very cool stuff to talk about with us here. How do you want to introduce yourself to everybody? I'll just let you do that since there's a couple of different ways we can do it.
Thank you. So how's it going, everyone? So pretty much I started in the GATE program, still am, and as of now, I'm just I became a high priest and worked within a secret society. I've helped a lot of people in Hollywood and stuff like that. So I've done all this pretty much my whole life. You know.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Thank you for joining us here. And yeah, I'll just say this too. As we're going through all this stuff, guys, please leave questions in the comments underneath. There's only so much we're going to talk about, but then like specific questions, we can always try to field those in different future programs or just email stuff. So my contact information is all in there. So if you just want to email me directly, that's fine. You can do that too. But yeah, let's get to what we wanted to talk about tonight. So all of us come from the GATE program. And you specifically, with these, as much work as you've done with it, one of the things that you have really gotten a chance to be able to learn how to do through this, and also I'm guessing through, your practice also, be able to kind of like make predictions and prophecies for the future. And, also all the system knowledge we just are kind of plugged into that can help other people understand what's going to be coming in the future. How would you like to kind of explain the GATE program and the connection to prophecy ability and things like that? You just kind of want to you take it from there and you let us know what you want, what we should know.
Yeah, so pretty much my experience started in second grade. Like I said, I skipped third grade into fourth, and it was in eighth grade when when I moved up in the ladder with another group that was pretty much we were trained to astral travel, how to talk to entities, ghosts, and
it was kind of creepy, but it was also for me. It was very natural. I felt like this is what I was meant to do my whole life. I was always attracted to the pretty much to the other side, the dark side. Um, and but there were many kids who did other things. Some were able to read minds or move objects. Um, a lot of the information that we gather, intel, because we were becoming pretty much quote unquote spies. We were uh, sharing with a lot of agency. And we were rewarded. My parents, my parents were told that all of this was for a good cause. That's what they were told, and you know, moved on eighth, ninth, 10th grade. I was already getting the hang of it and talking to entities that were no longer in this physical realm. But it was not easy. It was not easy, and we got through it. There was kids who couldn't make it, and they were in medications and hospitals and stuff like that.
At what point did you start sort of seeing things in the future that you thought, I'm not really sure is that going to happen or not? Then things started happening, and you started seeing like, wow, these things I'm thinking about coming true. This intuition, predictions, dreams I'm having, things like that, meditations I'm doing. I'm seeing future events like before they're coming. Like, when did that start to happen for you?
Well, I had my breakthrough in the in summer of eighth grade, going into ninth grade. I had it between seventh and eighth grade towards ninth. I was being shadowed by a specialist who was also a psychic, and I was being grounded, getting help being grounded. But first, it started as a scene and talking to ghosts, and from there, uh, I started astral traveling and remote view, and we got really good in remote view, and that was one of the main purpose. That was one of the main things that we were focused on: remote view, and what do you see? We started getting targets here and there. I was mapping targets like quick. There was other highly evolved kids that were also mapping different targets. And I remember one time, uh, I told this person I had it to map a target, and something got in the way that it that I had a flashback of an event that was pretty much gonna happen in the future. That's how I got that's how I started getting into prophecy. At the time I didn't know, but I wrote it down. I wrote it down. And pretty much that was the start for prophecy for me. And it didn't get I mastered I mastered it coming into Kabbalah. Once I started learning Kabbalah, prophetic Kabbalah, that's when I really got the hang of it and started prophesying and then sharing my prophecies with the group. And of course, this is all a close, Kabbalah is a close practice. It's what people see out there. It's nothing like the Kabbalah we are trying and we practice from the prophetic light. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Do you want to get into I mean, there's stuff talked about that, yeah,
Mhm.
see happening going on in the future through various different ways of seeing stuff. Do you want to get into specific different things that you think people should know coming up on the horizon line?
Yeah, pretty much. So last year, 2025, January, I went into meditation. And in Kabbalah we have these names of gods. God names that allow us to expand in consciousness. It's a little hard to explain, but you suck in more consciousness than what your body can hold. But you have to be the vessel for it. Otherwise it shatters and it can be a catastrophe. So, last year, January, I went into the heavens there's seven heavens. I found that I call it anomaly where there was gonna be another pandemic nearby. It wasn't manifested, but the idea, the thought was there. Um, so I let that go. Summer of 2025, I checked, and it got, for an idea or a seed to be planted, it needs thought, it needs emotion, it needs intention. And there was intention already in that particular virus. And it's not until in the beginning of this year when I actually, well, it's already in the works. It's already becoming manifested into physical form within the next uh we're in June, right?
Yeah.
November or December, that's when things will get a little interesting. I checked all of the possible timelines, whether this could happen or not. And if for what it looks like, it's meant to happen. It was part of the reality that we're living. What I did see is four different viruses, and you know, it's interesting that we're going into the World Cup. Yeah, it just makes it sucks, but it made sense. And as a prophet, we think, we analyze, and we try to get the best outcome. And at this point, it's a little complicated, based that we are how should we say, we are on very sensitive times. Humanity is transitioning through a sensitive time.
So I have a quick question, Moshe.
Uh-huh.
So in the scriptures, we're taught that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, against other people, but against principalities and powers in the heavenly realms, in the astral and the heavenly.
Yeah.
So this is like the ultimate conspiracy, because
Yeah.
people, I guess, for a skeptical person who dismisses a lot of conspiracies, one of the main reasons they dismiss a conspiracy is because it would take an insane amount of human resources and cooperation in order to pull off a global conspiracy like this. However, if we're not really talking about people, but we're talking about these, principalities and powers and entities in these astral realms that move through our subconscious and shift our behaviors subconsciously and put ideas in our head, and even people will black out and do something and then have no memory of it later, right? So so that's what we're talking about. A conspiracy, a global conspiracy, can absolutely happen if the pattern is moving through the zeitgeist, if the pattern is moving through, especially the dark of our subconscious, in areas where we hold fear and things like that. We're very susceptible to be maybe influenced in these ways. So I was just curious if you wanted to speak any more on that, or if you had anything further to speak on that.
Yeah, as a high priest and prophet, I take so many things into consideration, and it's not only me. I speak with certain angels, and come up with. I'm always learning as we go on the daily. Oh, there's always something to learn, and from the perspective of Kabbalah, anything that happens, it's good for humanity, whether it is good or bad. We live in a cycle where life and death, it's part of nature. It's part of who we are. When we engage into these deep rituals and try to understand consciousness from a higher perspective, we need to understand that one of the things that we can do is play the hero. That's not what we are here for. We are here to understand, learn, and see what outcomes. But let's get into this influence. There's just so much influence out there at the human body that we're not even aware of. 90% of the influence that we as human beings, it's caused by external whether it's your partner, work, whether it's driving down the road, everything's external. There's always influences, and and besides that, we have these bodies which we call planets, which gives the map to the zodiac signs and stuff like that. People can get skeptic about these things, but in reality, how much influence does a human being like takes from external, you know, and that plays a huge role when it comes to uh you know, yes, we have the potential to stop things, but as long as a human being doesn't become conscious or aware that there are influence out there, then there's not much that we can do.
Cool. Just real quick, I want to go back to the sporting at the World Cup coming up here. We're talking about that coming up. That would be a perfect place for people to try and, spread something. It's one of those events where you can make it a super spreader type of thing. Is that or any other different things, something you've seen on the horizon of maybe not 100%, this is how somebody, here's one of the ways that I think they're going to try to do it.
Well, we can push it as far as we can, but it's meant to happen. It's part of the cosmic plan. Let's put it that way. But it's not the only thing I saw. I saw catastrophes. I saw many things. Like I said, humanity is going through a change. 2025 to 2028. It's an incredible change. A lot of things are happening to humanity, and it's part of a transition. That is how we see it from a higher perspective. Again, from a lower perspective, from a human perspective, we don't care about these things, and we still gotta pay bills and stuff like that. There are definitely changes coming, and we see these with disclosure.
I think that's something that people need to understand is there's a lot of people out there that think like, well, if we just all meditate on it, then everything will just like suddenly everybody can be nice to each other and everybody's gonna be perfect. It's like, no, that's not how this experience works. It's, you had said something the other night about like making yourself go through pain and suffering. It's kind of pointless. It doesn't necessarily make for the better. However, being put through a challenge can build character with you if it's not just trying to do uselessly. And I feel like all of this sort of stuff that has happened in the past and happening now, there's different stuff on solar cycles that's happened in the past where people have been wiped out by it. It's this one big thing that's moving forward. It's not as easy as everybody thinks, I don't know. I feel like people have a hard time sometimes understanding a large time scale of stuff as opposed to just whatever's happening in that hour of their particular day or just their adult lifetime.
Yeah, and unfortunately, from my experience and from what I've learned within Kabbalah is that humanity gets only unites when there's catastrophe.
Mhm.
They unite. Why? I don't know. It's just, and sometimes I guess these things must happen in order for humanity or humans to realize that, hey, there's more out there. Like the purpose of reality is to expand in consciousness and become aware. Or, there's people, you gotta ask your question, why are we here? Like, who am I? Yeah, you know?
I like to ask people if they ask, I don't know, sometimes we try to have a philosophical talk about stuff and you can tell they're kind of maybe already not going to agree with the argument. So I say, before we even talk about the meaning of life, it's like, why are you here? What's the meaning of life? What is the meaning for you, for me? And just kind of get that idea from where they're coming from. As, oh, it's exactly like in the King James Bible. Or somebody, no, it's all about the Quran. No, it's all about Buddhism. They have their own kind of like seeing things. And it seems to, I don't know, it either affect their view on why they're here or their view on why they're here affects the spiritual practices and religions they may choose. Kind of moving forward and things. There's just some kind of weird correlation to that, I think.
Yeah, and I see, and I think one of the good sides of the gate program is that we were challenged to get to know ourselves, to see how much potential we have and to understand that there's more than just a physical reality out there and stuff like that, cross over the gateway.
So for for people that say like, okay, all right, I accept that these challenging times are going to come up, whether it's warfare, earthquakes, disease, solar flare, whatever it is. Obviously, that can cause a lot of fear in people. There's some people who just hear this and like, I don't know. I feel like all of us are kind of the mindset where when we started getting relayed this information, we were just like, oh yeah, no, he's not here at this time because of this type of thing. But there's a lot of other people out there that are really going to have a hard time with everything that's coming on, even just like the disclosure stuff. What do you what's kind of the best way that people can understand what's happening, or kind of meditations or what they can connect with or things that, I've heard you talk about. What would you talk to everybody else out there to maybe, I don't know, try to do to understand?
Yeah, well, prophecy is a double-edged sword because once you put it out there, you're either causing fear and fitting this plan, quote unquote, but no, it's there and it's gonna happen. And I'm not saying because it's there. It's not only prophesized by me, it's being prophesized and like I said, I've talked to angels or whatever you guys want to call them. And it's the word in the street is it's what I saw out there. And but one thing that we can do is stay calm. I know it sucks. It sounds dumb, but that is one of the things that we can do. And I will tell you why, because I looked into this virus, and the virus happens to latch on to people who are in fear.
Hmm.
That is something that I've never seen in my entire life, where the instead of a virus being physical, yes, it gives you physical symptoms, but it latches on a metaphysical, energetic level to those that are in fear, to those that are in doubt, to those that are in a lower mindset or frequency or vibration, whatever you want to call it. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
stay calm and live your life. Be happy.
Yeah.
Smile through the chaos.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that even though something can be terrifying, but you can't get around it, man. You got to just make the best in the situation you're in. People have lived through
Yeah.
horrible, horrific time periods when they didn't even have medicine or have hospitals to go to, or the police or firemen or anything. And we're still here. Like everybody, we're better. We're doing better than we were in the past. So scary, terrible things happen, but if you try to have an understanding of it and understand that there's light at the end of the tunnel, it makes it a lot less scary. And I think that's
Yeah, definitely.
Patrick. Do you have any? I know you wanted to talk about the prophecy. What sort of questions do you have for?
Yeah, so I was curious if there was any other prophecies, further down the road that you'd like to cover. One.
Mm, well, there's definitely gonna be a huge transition from now till 2028. But the way we see, interact, and perceive reality will change. Why? I, it's been, I guess every psychic knows this, that by the middle or summer of 2027, we're humanity is gonna transition to another. It's not the end of the world. It's just a reset, and humanity will start to perceive reality from a different lens. The world as we know it will start to exist. I guess we're gonna with the whole AI and these machines, we might and these aliens, all the disclosure, it's just gonna take humanity to a different level.
So what do you want to speak about? Like, people are interested in obviously like the catastrophic stuff, like that's classical, like, prophecy. This catastrophe will, but typically, the prophets would say this catastrophe is coming unless the people repent. Like when Jonah went to Nineveh, he
Mhm.
told the Assyrians, repent or else this catastrophe is coming. And they did repent. And he was amazed, and the catastrophe was averted. Although obviously Nineveh was eventually wiped off the map, so it wasn't a permanent solution. But yeah, what other catastrophes do you want to speak about now? Like just so you have it on the record. And if there's anything else, we can we can cover it, and then if not, then we can take it from there.
Yeah, one of the things that are really me as a person, what I've seen, because again, I've had encounters with extraterrestrials and aliens and whatever you guys want to call them, and one of the main concerns is the sun. That is one of the main concerns, that the sun, and that alludes to what's it called, we're currently going through a
Thing or
yes, CMS.
yeah, coronal mass ejection. There.
Yes, there you go. These things are in a way helping shape Earth, because even if even if okay, the one thing, every time there's a CME, a week later there is an earthquake or a massive storm, and it's part of this whole transition that we're going to. So yeah, there's gonna be earthquakes, there's gonna be tsunamis, there's gonna be lands, volcanoes moving. There's gonna be a birth of new continents. And you guys can start looking into this,
Mhm.
because there will be new continents, and I'm putting my word on this because there will be new continents, because it's part of the new world. Let's put it that way. Everything that from the perspective of Kabbalah, everything has been mapped already, and we know what's gonna happen and where humanity is headed towards, because that is what we study in Kabbalah, and that is from from biblical times. That's what prophets do. Yeah, there's just let's just put it that way. We're gonna go through a big transition, whether we like it or not, and that we will.
So there may be massive shifts in the Earth's crust that could expose, like create new continents, like new land. Some parts would go into the ocean, right? What about
Um,
any effects to our electrical grid?
and the map as we know it will change. We'll have a few changes, but I don't want to get too much into that because people are gonna be in fear, and that is not the point of all of this. Um, to you know, um,
Right. So what yeah, cover that too. How can we be empowered to change or delay or mitigate these certain outcomes? Like what should we do proactively, in our
our minds are very
practice?
powerful, and any external experiences are an internal energy that we have in process. So we can start with the simple fact of imagine us or Earth in a better, place, in a happy or harmonious frequency. That will help a lot. imagining or your family being happy and healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we do, I just want to go back to some real quick. There's a lot of challenge. Meeting new people is a challenge. So as we've talked about, for anybody out there who doesn't understand the real life going on, the stuff flying around out there, some of it's coming from Earth, but a lot of it's not. And there's also ETs that can take through other ways, and orbs and rakabas and all sorts of different stuff. So for people out there that maybe are just kind of like very weirded out by this idea, having the contact that you've had with what we just referred to as ETs, non-human personalities. Is that something that was like weirded you out at first, and how did you kind of get over that?
Well, whether humanity likes it or not, we will have contact with higher intelligence, and it's destined to happen from now till 2032. It's like the opening window, and then listen, world leaders have been told that it must happen. Change must happen. But I'm not gonna get into politics and stuff like that. This is not why I'm here for.
So, Moshe, we were talking about, the fact that people are just going to have to get used to the fact that we're not alone out there. These things don't have the same religions that we do on Earth. That's going to be difficult for people to accept, I think, in some cases. Other people are going to say, yeah, okay, well, that makes sense. But one of the things that comes up with the GATE program in general, and everybody who is a part of it, is the different theories of hybrid DNA and what Rh negative DNA is. And, recently got Jack Gary and Lynn from I can't remember his last name, from the GATE program, one of the original guys. They've been talking about people tracking DNA using 23andMe and all this other stuff.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the GATE program started as a treaty going on, with specific alien species and leaders that information was traded. As far as I know, it was understood that certain or beings with certain level of consciousness will come into Earth. As we understand, prior to the 70 years ago, Earth was considered a prison planet. But under a specific treaty, it became a school. And that's when a lot of those star seeds or so-called star seeds came into incarnation. They came into the physical realm, and pretty much they were waiting for them. But as far as DNA and Rh negative and all of these things, we gotta look at it from the perspective of information. DNA is information. It's more about the body than the soul, because what I've learned is that not every being or not every consciousness or individual consciousness can incarnate in any body. There's specific bodies for specific consciousness. And that is where I guess Rh negative became the most popular one, because it was able to hold the most memory and consciousness from the rest of the blood types. Um, we call it, or it's known as the gift of the gods. There is no mammal DNA within Rh negative. And if you see and you try to understand, if you know a person with Rh negative, they're a little cold. They're a little cold-blooded. And I'm not gonna get into deeper why.
Yeah, no, I think, people can have real specific questions like, oh, well, here's my blood type. Who am I related to in the ancient gods? And it's like, you're missing the entire picture. It's not about little specific things like that. At least I don't believe it is. It's more. It sounds more like what you're saying is like
Exactly. Because we have to understand, well, from the perspective of Kabbalah, as a high priest, you need to understand the way the mechanism of reality works. And we know that there are beings out there that are not human at all, living among and which is interesting because in the gate program we were taught to how to like distinguish the difference from a human being and a non-human being, quote unquote. And yeah,
right. Yeah.
Quick question. If you could give us a percentage of what, in your estimation, what percentage of the population of the earth are quote unquote real human beings versus like
yeah. So
quote unquote versus like elite?
these are deep things. So the way that you can distinguish is through it's only by their energetic pattern. Every soul, every consciousness has their own energetic pattern. Think of it as a social security. Every soul has that specific core energetic pattern. And that is the only way that you can distinguish from a normal human being versus a jinn. But we have to understand that there are jinns out there incarnated in human bodies, but we can't tell the difference. And most of these jinns live a normal life and are listen. Some of them are very religious, very loyal. They have their own families, but part of being a high priest and being in a secret society is that we're not we use this to study. We're not here to pinpoint and throw people under the bus. That is not why. That's not why I signed up for this. But and to tell you how many humans versus alien, I can't give you a percentage because that's just gonna draw attention and people are just gonna panic and whatever. Yeah.
Gotcha.
With the different types of, you sorry, the intelligent beings that we're dealing with,
Uh-huh.
since they're not human. You have talked about kind of the cosmology or system of how things are set up with what we'll just refer to as this, matrix.
We can, let it be known, and it's known out there. Ever since the movie Matrix came out, it was basically a documentary. And in Kabbalah, yes, we acknowledge and we understand that the reality that we live on, it's a projection. Quote unquote, it's the shadow side to the spiritual side. Therefore, the influence for the physical starts in the spiritual. Does it make sense? Yeah. So, yeah, if we are living in a projection or in a dream,
Case,
well,
dream. Got different people out there, architects, guys, right, kind of program code. How could people understand that?
well, actually, all of this is coded within the Torah. It's simply not in we don't look. There's a story. There's the flood, and it has happened everywhere. Within those are Kabbalah is the soul of Torah. I guess we follow certain guides to extract the information, and there's been rabbis, Kabbalists who for thousands of years that have known so much and information has been shared with us. I've seen a lot, and but nonetheless, it's true because Kabbalah forces you to have that experience instead of it's more than reading a book. You have to go through the experience. Kabbalah is like the Jumanji game. Once you roll the dice, you gotta duck, run, or face it. You're not getting away from it. You either learn or learn. Just like every video game that gets created has its creator. In Kabbalah, we have Masay Bereshis and Masay Merkabah. These two schools offer different perspectives. The first school is Masay Bereshis, which is how everything became to me, how the reality became to me, how life became to me. And the other one, let's say Merkabah, it's the workings of the chariot, how it functions, what is the mechanism behind it, and let it be known that there is two gods. Let's say Bereshit studies one God, which is the Ein Sof, and Masay Merkabah studies the lesser God, which I'm not gonna name because it's not meant to be out there. It's part of the close practice. And that, yeah, that gives us advantage, and it helps us understand the reality and why are we here and why things are done the way they are. And yeah, it gets deep, but it's, yeah, illusion. We really have, like in Kabbalah, when you talk about these things, you literally have to break the illusion. And in Kabbalah, we understand we have to be mindful that any man-made foundation or structure can be collapsed in seconds with Kabbalah, because Kabbalah deals with the outside worlds, with the heavens, with the invisible forces that control reality. And being a high priest, it's not oh, I'm gonna get on Google and Google this and this is what I'm getting. No, no. You're actually, you have to understand how the mechanism works, and you have to, sit up, talk to, yeah, you have to know these things. But for me to explain it to someone who's, trying to who was barely figuring out what the gate program is about. It's like me, you know, I don't want to break the reality.
Yeah, I know that, and I hear people do that where they're trying. There's a lot of different stuff where I hear people trying to say, well, it's like this or it's like that, trying to use man-made stuff as metaphor and stuff. It doesn't work at all because it's too limited. There, people can, the interaction. What is, if somebody said, okay, well, if it's not anything like that, what's a way that I can understand it maybe without?
Well, it's not only Kabbalah. I think there's other practices out there that has mapped, you know, I guess the lesser God or the angelic realm. It's not only within Kabbalah. Kabbalah has helped me.
Mm.
That's what it has so engage with these two. I don't know. They're not even people. Outside forces. Religion is still very limited. People are still trying to understand whether these aliens are the angels and demons that are spoken of in revelations or in books. My personal opinion is no, they're different, and they're not the same. Angels and demons are not.
So, well, what's your opinion on that?
For me to talk on that, it's just so much. But we have to understand that there are beings out there with a lot of consciousness and energy, but no physical matter. There are beings out there with physical matter, a lot of consciousness, and a lot of energy that we call aliens. But they're not the same. They're not angels and demons are not the same. Another thing that I want to point out is that outside of what people deal, I guess the new age, all the angels that they see in their minds, or the ghosts they see in their minds, these are still on the psychic level. And in Kabbalah, we deal with the real real angelic forces and the lower forces that are nowhere near the, like, people perceive them with vests and holy. No, no, nothing like that. Yeah, this is no. All of these are symbolism. None of the angels have wings, and I'm telling you this because we know the deal and how things work, and but it's allowed because it's part of the experience, and who am I to pop a person's yeah. But most of these forces don't even fit in this reality that you have to get out there. Uh-huh.
So, 'cause a lot of people don't understand the word mystic. So it means like direct connection or seeking a direct connection with higher source, or however you want to put it, so sort of like your mind, like type of thing. So it's direct experience. Is that a word
Well,
that
we
cover what?
you know we're walking on quicksand because most of the people don't even know themselves. And they use this as an escapism. A lot of people are not even connected or haven't found a relationship with source, let alone they're already dealing with other beings. That's dangerous. That is very dangerous. And that is something I learned within the gate programs how to deal with these entities and how to protect myself. And in Kabbalah, that's when I found the structure, and it can get dirty. It can get dirty, and unfortunately, there's people out there that believe more in these entities that they believe in themselves or on source, and that's a problem.
So I think that's brings us to a really important question, which is how would you suggest to us that we connect with source and that we find our true identities, that we
Well,
yeah,
that is a great question. Due to me being a high priest and I deal with both parties, I cannot suggest that. But you do know that, and you can share your thought.
sure. So I'm definitely a follower of the Christ, Yahshua HaNazar, Jesus of Nazareth. And in my view, when Yahshua says the kingdom of God is near, so first came basically John's baptism, and then come the kingdom of God within, right? So we actually have to the baptism. You actually have to admit error, and knowing that you are the image of God, or that you are God in a way. It might be tempting to say, I'm going to just start with whatever I am right now and claim divinity. But the way that Yahshua teaches is, no, you actually have to admit error. You have to admit that you are a created being with, in a way, and that is capable of error. And when you do that, it makes room for the source to pour into you. It cracks open the door uh, in what you have created of yourself. So theoretically, you've created this false self, this ego or inflated self. And in order to open that up, to receive the light of the source, to really let it pour in to the temple of your heart, you have to, repent. You have to, humble yourself before your creator, before your source. So I would say first, if you yourself have some recalcitrance or arrogance in you or pride, and if you think that you are your own salvation in a way, even though that's often taught, I would say first humble yourself. First humble yourself. And in doing so, you'll make room for the source for you to become that. Like Yahshua says, I am the Father are one, right? And then the next is to just receive, just with intention, the source into your heart. So what I do is I just say, I receive a cleansing of the temple of my heart, right? So that receives that that baptism into your heart. And then I receive Yahshua. Yahshua means I am that I am salvation. And he said salvation is of the Jews, right? And it's I am that I am Shivan, salvation, right? So as you reach out towards God, right? This is like that classic Leonardo da Vinci painting, or I forget who painted it, but it's got the finger of Adam reaching out to the finger of God. But it's like as you reach out to God, God reaches out to you. And that's why Yahshua says, no one comes to the Father except through me, because literally I am that I am salvation is the act of reaching towards the source, and the source, therefore, like a mirror reaching back towards you. So anybody who does come to the solid comes through that, you know, and through the temple of the heart. So my suggestion is to go through the temple of the heart to receive the cleansing of the temple of the heart and to interact with Emmanuel in that way. But that's, of course, that's my opinion, and everybody has their own spiritual practice and their own rights, and of course they may want to speak on it, you know. But yeah, I definitely have my own like strong opinion on how to connect to source
Yeah, that's very interesting.
in that way. So yeah, good.
It's very cool. I don't know why it's popped into my head when you were talking about that, the different practices. That we're talking about New Age stuff, and you know that's not like, I don't know. There's a lot of different styles to worship, things people pray to and worship, ideas and concepts. Some people are, you know, Wiccan. Some people do Western Star magic. A lot of knowledge comes from that sort of stuff. But you have other people that are very also into, we'll call it kind of like God and Goddess type worship, where they're looking at, you know, they are looking for connection with these different gods and goddesses that have been here on the planet before, that people think, oh, it's all made up, that ever existed. I would wager to say that's not true. These are real beings that have been around for a long time and are still around right now.
Well, they're no longer here, and if they are here, their sparks live within hundreds of human beings. That is why they feel that connection. But I follow, as a high priest, we have to follow strict rule and understand that yes, there are lower gods or lesser gods or demiurges, and but it doesn't end there. You have to, the walk is back home at the end of the day. And you have to understand that you are a piece of source. You are here for a reason. You are being, I don't know, whether you are being, or whether you fear you're being harassed, looked, or chased, it's for a reason. And part of it is because there's a spark within you that's very valuable. Yes, I've talked to certain lesser gods or demiurges, but you know, at the end of the day, connection should be with source regardless.
Yeah. The reason I specifically that popped in my head is I know there's a lot of people gate program wise that are like really obsessed with tracking their DNA and stuff themselves, trying to figure out what bloodline. Saying is that like that's really not something to be focused. Like it's great to figure out if you're related to some sort of character in the past, but it's not really
Yeah. Well,
finding your connection to source and making kind of your own path.
DNA is only valuable, like I said, because it's information, and what scientists are doing is they want to better this Homo sapien or this animal or this vessel. This is a vessel. You got to understand that you're not the vessel. You're the consciousness inside of the vessel experiencing reality. That alone should tell you that stop worrying about DNA. It's not yours. You are source. You are energy. Your consciousness having a physical experience. When you go back, when you cross over, none of this is gonna matter. What you're taking is the experience what you have learned. And if you haven't learned enough, you will be back here again. That's the bottom line. And you're gonna be here in another body and another over and over until you realize what, you know.
Yeah. No, I think that's that's the way of thinking about it. It's really good advice too. Yeah, it's cool to know your heritage might be and stuff, but it's not like you said. As soon as this is over, and so you know, I always say I'm a point of awareness. At the end of the day, I'm aware, I'm self-aware. So
Yeah.
point of awareness, and I'm currently piloting this thing that's really all there is to it, which is literally made of atoms and electrons and nucleus, or just made of empty state. I literally am made of empty state. This is just there's these magnetic fields that are created by these different pieces of energy. So it makes my hands in the solid this reality. But yeah, at the end of the day, you break down everything past the point of being an atom, and it's like you've got an electron, and what's it made out? Electron. You got a nucleus. What's it made of? Nucleus. Science can't explain anything past that because they would have to admit it to me. Now, quantum mechanics guys are like, yeah, empty space, and everything is in superposition, which makes it everywhere all at the same time.
Yeah, throughout my, I guess, my career or whatever we wanna call it, I've met people who have actually been incarnated in very important, um, I guess, people in history, but it doesn't really. At the end of the day, it's just the experience. How is it gonna, like I tell people, how is remembering all of this or trying to understand this, how is it gonna help you to be a better person? How is it gonna help you to become better? Look around. Now there's so much going on. They're like humans kill each other. That's a concern that's talked about outside of this realm. It's how they don't understand. I've talked to a lot of higher consciousness or beings that they still don't understand. I've t- I've talked to reptilians that they don't understand how we kill one another. They see us as a virus, and from that perspective, I understand because look around. So it's not that they don't like us. It's the fact that we haven't grown. We're still a baby species.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And not until we expand in consciousness and understand, but they're willing to work.
Yeah. Exactly. Like the old song called Land of
Mhm.
Confusion, by Phil Collins and Genesis, just talk about all the crappy stuff going on the planet. It just says, look, you guys got to fix it. Your time's running out. It's almost like channel music, like we were talking about before, where just being a positive message as opposed to some stuff that can have a negative message. But yeah, they're throwing ideas down to us all the time to either take notice of or don't take notice. Because if you can't do it yourselves, then yeah, what use we're going to move you into a higher reality when you just go out there and try to use your.
Another thing that I want to point out, very interesting, that is that I've come to understand that yeah, there's a lot of people here who are related to gods and goddesses and yes, they have sparks or from these gods and goddesses. But as you ascend, you start to lose individuality and you start merging into that God. So do you really want to lose your individuality? Think about it. Or do you want to be your own? Or do you still want to hold your own I am that I am? 'Cause that's a big thing. That's a big thing, and it starts to happen in the seventh dimension. We're not gonna get into that, but in the sixth dimension, you're still allowed to hold your individuality. Into the seventh dimension, you start to dim, and the I am that I am starts to lose its I wouldn't say value, but you switch into a being wholeness with sort. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of I don't know, species don't wanna ascend because you lose the ego, you lose your personality and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that do, channeling somebody's either they're doing it or they're not. They're really good at lying about stuff, one of the two. But we'll just go with the people that are doing what they're talking about. A lot of them talk to what we would consider beings, or at least, a being that can talk through somebody. They'll say, yeah, no, I'm a conglomerate of my entire soul family at this point because I'm in the blank exception. But we talk to you as one through this.
No, listen, so one thing I love about Kabbalah is that you get the opportunity to experience this by yourself. And yeah, there are families out there, whether you want to call them soul families, and I don't know, star seeds families. Yes, these do exist within the fifth dimension and in the sixth dimension. But in the seventh dimension, there's no families. It's simply you. It's you or your consciousness experiencing in a way thoughts form with other waves, like colors mixing around. Very, you start to dim. Like there's no point for families. You start merging into source. You start losing. You start to unify yourself. So yes, these star seeds families or families only exist within the fifth and sixth dimension. But beyond that, no, no. There's
Communicate with us anymore, like from that.
speech. There's no speech. There's no reason to. I guess we lose the sense of purpose because purpose only exists within the three, fourth, and fifth dimension. And sixth dimension, purpose to live, purpose to experience, purpose to love, purpose for all of these things. But if above seven, you start to lose all. There's no point of these things. Being into the ninth dimension, and I get why those what we call the other side or these foreign beings. I get it. I understand that perspective very clear that yeah, maybe I don't want to lose the I am in me. Maybe I want to be a god myself. Maybe I want to birth and destroy worlds. Maybe there's more out there before I merge into source. Again, this is just from my perspective what I've learned Kabbalah. And yeah. Again, everyone should do their own research. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone is in their own journey. At the end of the day, I'm in my own journey, and nonetheless, I've been here a lot of times.
Well, it's funny you brought up, who you were in the past or whatever. Personally speaking, if there's a particular person I've been told I was pretty famous and notable first past it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when the person told me this, I said, well, that's cool. I mean, but, I'm just doing my job. That's it. There's no feeling of like greatness or spirit. Like you said, it's just, well, that's what I signed up for in that particular life. And that's what I did. I hope I did a good job at it. But, here I am. So, I'm here for this particular reason of whatever's going on. And, I don't know different stuff, I don't know how much carries over from one life to another in the influencing of somebody.
Well, yeah, from the I guess
Personality every time you turn down.
most of the experiences we came to experience in the present, like here in the present, are they roll over unfinished business that we had in a past life. Whether it's a fear, whether it's a couple or someone that you feel connected to, all of these are rollover from a past life. We call it karma, or that is how it was structured. And it's interesting because in Kabbalah we have to understand it before we engage in a ritual or change the trajectory of the soul. We have to understand why they're in that place, what brought them there, and what it's they're learning, what they must learn from that. But you know, there's just so much to talk about that.
This is a lot for me.
Yeah.
I think like this is a good place to kind of we'll close up the show for tonight here, and then talk about some other different stuff on a different episode meeting. Okay, Patrick, Steelo, you got any like a last question or anything you want to talk about?
I think that was a lot.
Yeah.
That was really good. Yeah, they covered a lot, so we're good.
Awesome. Well, guys, everybody, thank you so much again for being on with us here today. Everybody else out there, thank you for watching and listening. Like Moshe was saying.
Yeah. Hold on. I just want to say one more thing, and let it be known they've been walking amongst us for thousands of years. All right. Yep.
Yeah, you already probably interact with extraterrestrials and you just don't know it. I could be an extraterrestrial. You don't know it. If I don't have an agenda, though.
Actually, I mean, this might extend it, but I do have a story of dealing with someone I think might have been an NPC or something. But we could save that for another podcast. What do you think?
Well, now I want to hear the story, but I also think it's a great thing to have people now listen to the next episode because they want to hear the story. Let's make them wait.
All right, gotcha.
Awesome. Guys, thank you again for being on tonight. And thank you guys for watching out there.
Thank you.
Please post this video for anybody you think it would be good for. Send it to them just so they can gain some understanding on, different stuff that's going to be coming up in the future. So we will sign off here for tonight. Thank you, guys.